on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush is sponsored by the Word on Wealth Radio Network. This is the Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush of GQ Law. Gary is a San Diego financial solutions attorney protecting people like you. The Word on Wealth team of financial experts is here to answer your questions and help preserve your family's financial future. Now, you're
live. Happy Monday, everybody. This is Gary Quackenbush. Welcome to the Word on Wealth. This is the day when we get to be smarter about Medicare. We have the Medicare answer guy, Jim Robeson. We've been doing this together for, over a year. I've learned a lot about Medicare, and you guys now have that opportunity today to learn about Medicare directly from Jim. Jim, welcome to the show today.
Thank you, Gary. Good to be back. Hope you're doing well. Getting ready for the storm. I love storms.
Oh, storms are great. No, I talked to my son last night. He lives up in Washington, Vancouver, Washington. So we don't have storms here. We just don't have storms. So I said, well,
it just rains all the time.
Yeah, it's not really raining. It's just drizzling. So it either rains or drizzles, and sometimes it's a downpour, and just kind of drumming rain, and other times it's just drizzling. So it doesn't rain all the time. And then it said in San Diego, I just when it rains, I love it. What I don't like is the fact that tonight when I go home, it's going to have been dark for 2 hours.
Yeah.
So,
and if it's raining, then it's all backing up. And, we live in Southern California and we don't know how to drive in the rain. So
I know.
Got to be careful.
Don't you love that? That is so cool. I love the fact that I don't know how to drive. I do, but it's true. We don't know what to do with the rain.
Stay away from Gary Quackenbush.
Well, I drive a pickup truck. So I've learned I can power slide and drift around corners. I'm totally safe in the rain. I'm good. Been driving forever, man. What is it when I was a kid, at 15 you got your driver's license to ride a motorcycle. So I rode a motorcycle to school until I got my driver's license. So there you go. Jim,
no more motorcycle.
No, I haven't had a motorcycle for a while. I mean, I have off-road, quads and stuff like that to play with, but no motorcycles on the road now. It's just too much. Instead, I drive a truck that's taller than most, so I'm usually never that worried about getting into a wreck. I have been. My gosh, crashes are terrible. So we digress. Jim is the Medicare answer guy. His website is the Medicare answer guy, the MedicareAnswerGuy.com. The reason we have Jim on the air is because every time somebody turns 65 and calls me, I try to remember what we talk about, and I go back to my notes on the last time I was on the air with Jim. I get out his newsletter and I read through this stuff and I go, I just want to have people listen to the show. So I say, you're turning 65. Yeah, soon, like within a year or 6 months or within 3 months, you better listen to the show. And I let people listen to the show. And I tell them to go to the MedicareAnswerGuy.com and sign up for Jim's newsletter so that you can see the stuff that's coming up, the things you should watch out for. I was, and I know the purpose of the show, because we have the Medicare stuff and we're talking about people that are new to being 65, people that are retiring after they're 65, and people that are retired and 65. Those are kind of the three groups we want to talk about. One of our friends, Tom, Tom Levine, he's our friend. And Tom, was it Wednesday? We were talking and he said, I've got to talk to Jim. I'm turning 65. I went, Tom, yes. Have you not yet? And he goes, no, I need to talk to Jim. I said, for crying out loud, don't wait so long. Because my brother waited until he was like 65 and then said, now what do I do? I said, well, 90 days ago. So let's talk about that first. New to 65. How does that group, what can you teach us to get these, to get people kind of set up for this?
Well, the reason I want to talk about this, Gary, is because now we're in the open enrollment period, and I have people calling that aren't 65 yet, or they're 65 and they're still working. It says, what do I need to do? And the plain answer is nothing. This period of time is only for those that have retired and are 65. But the fact remains that 10,000 people a day across the United States turn 65, 10,000. And over the next 7 to 10 years, it's going to escalate. And so, as I always say and have shared with you, Medicare is confusing and it's always changing. And very few people understand how it works. So if you're turning 65 and you're coming off an employer plan and you're not going to work, then I would be happy to answer all your questions and help you navigate from beginning to end how to transition. If you've already turned 65, but you're still working for a company who has more than 20 employees, then you don't have to enroll in Medicare. You're on the employer health plan. But if you're still working and own your own business, have less than 20 employees, you must enroll in Medicare. Otherwise, you will pay a late enrollment fee. And then this last group, retired and 65, and you've been on Medicare for a year, 2 years, 5 years, whatever, the period that we're in, the annual enrollment period, AEP, this is exactly the time, if you're on a Medicare Advantage HMO plan or a standalone prescription drug plan, this is the time, if you feel it necessary, to make some changes, or call us today and hopefully we can answer your questions. And here's why. Medicare Advantage HMO plans are always changing. Every single year, there's something new that's coming on on the horizon. And if you're on one of these plans and you haven't reviewed your plan in the last 3 years, you need to, number one, pick up the phone and call your broker, because I'm sure something's changed with your plan or something new has come out where you still can keep your doctor and you can save money. So those are the three groups. Whether you're new to 65, and there are a lot of people doing that, if you're 65 and still working and your employer has more than 20 employees, you really don't need to enroll in Medicare until you retire. Or if you've been on Medicare for a year or more, now's the time.
Coming up on 2.
Through, do I need to look at my Medicare Advantage HMO plan? Do I need to look at my prescription drug plan? Those are the two things that keep us busy during these last couple of months.
Okay. All right. So then, and the number that we use to get a hold of you is 858-935-9120, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So there's two things you need to remember if you have questions regarding Medicare. 858-935-9120. And the other is Jim's website. That's the MedicareAnswerGuy.com. As you can see, there's some confusion. It's just, there's a lot of things that change. Now, the one thing Jim has taught me, and he'll confirm this, is that because there are so many different changes, we're not really sure what they are. You get notifications saying, maybe it's time to change your plan, or, you get things in the mail. There's a lot of advertisement on TV and the radio, and just a lot of stuff going on. And that's when it's time to call Jim and figure out, do I need to be doing something different? Okay. So that's 858-935-9120. All right. So Jim, I'm trying to think now, if people want to get your newsletter, because your newsletter is great, it really keeps you up on all this. To get your newsletter, do we go to your website?
Yeah, you can go to the MedicareAnswerGuy.com. There's a place to click on it, fill it out, let me know. We'll put you on an email list. If you want us to mail it out to you directly, we'll do that as well. It's very simple. It's bullet points. It's not 4 pages like it used to be. Mm-hmm. It's just concise and to the point, and we'd love to get that to you.
Okay, great. So we are on the Word on Wealth with Jim Robeson, the Medicare Answer Guy. Now, coming up next, I'm going to talk to Jim about what's going on there, the October 15th through the December 7th timeframe, what you need to know. That's coming up next right here on the Word on Wealth.
You've got questions. We've got answers. This is the Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush of GQ Law. Gary's here to give you peace of mind with expert estate planning, trust administration, inheritance, and probate. Call Gary to build, protect, and transfer your wealth. 855-500-TRUST. GQLaw.com.
You're saving and investing for the future, and that's good. Have you ever stopped to think, where does my money actually go? This is Faith-Based Investing with Anthony Wright.
Most Christians just don't understand that the money they save for retirement usually helps fund the abortion industry and other liberal anti-family causes. But did you know that with just a few minutes of your time, we can screen and clean your investments at no cost to you? It's absolutely complimentary. Just go to the website right now, download a free copy of my book, Faith-Based Investing. It's free as well. You deserve to know the truth as the investor. Then the choice is yours. You can keep doing what you're doing, or you can line up your investments and life savings with your beliefs. We are fiduciary investment advisors. You can feel good about investing with confidence. So learn more now. Go to BibleSafeInvesting.com or call me at 931-RETIRED. Your free book is waiting for you. Go to BibleSafeInvesting.com and be sure that you listen to Faith-Based Investing this weekend right here on Family Talk.
Gary, our listeners are asking about trust disputes and whether or not they'll actually get the inheritance they're expecting.
I think that's a scary thing for most people because they feel like, if I ask my successor trustee, hey, where's my inheritance? You kind of feel like, oh my gosh, I'm being like rude or whatever, inconsiderate. But I'm telling you, if time goes on, if it's been like 60 days, 90 days, 120 days, that's too long to have heard nothing. You're supposed to hear fairly soon, like within a couple of months after someone's passed, you should be hearing from that successor trustee. And if you're not, I think there's an issue we need to address. So it's not like we're going to go screaming in there, filing lawsuits. We kind of use gentle nudges like, hey, do you know what you're doing? Successor trustee, we kind of want to help you do your job, and we help beneficiaries kind of get things straightened out.
Call or click to request your free initial consultation. GQLaw.com, 855-500-TRUST, GQLaw.com.
This mortgage.
You're not alone. Ask for the legal help you need. Call Gary and the team at GQ Law, 855-500-TRUST, or go online and download Gary's free ebooks and videos. Read Gary's blogs. Call or click to request your free consultation or to talk with a member of the GQ team. That's GQLaw.com, 855-500.
You're live. Welcome to the Word on Wealth. This is Gary Quackenbush, and on Mondays, we have one of our favorite people, the smartest guy in San Diego that knows everything you would ever want to know about Medicare. You know it's confusing. If you have anything to do with it, if you're anywhere near age 65, you're starting to think about, oh, Medicare, should I be worried? Should I be doing something? And Jim, the Medicare answer guy, is here to answer all of your questions. I have asked him to review with us the AEP. Now, understand there are so many acronyms with Medicare that we're not doing this to tease you. There's just a lot of acronyms. So AEP is the annual enrollment period. That's a period of time between October 15th and December 7th. That means we're right in the middle of that. So Jim, tell us about the AEP.
Well, everybody knows about AEP because they see it on TV and hear it on the radio, but it's a time where if you've been on Medicare for a year or more, and you have one of the most popular Medicare Advantage HMO plans, it might be with United Healthcare, Kaiser, Sharp, there are a bunch of them. Now's the time, if you need to change it, this is when you change it. And it becomes effective, the new plan, January 1st, 2023. But here's what's happening this year for changing for next year.
Okay.
An Medicare Advantage HMO plan is pretty restrictive in this way. You need to stay within your medical group, whether it's Sharp, Scripps, UCSD, Kaiser. What's happening now, Gary, is insurance companies are becoming more creative. And now they're adding plans that will allow you to go outside of the network for certain services, primarily to see a specialist. So one of the popular plans that United Healthcare has, their Medicare Advantage HMO, they have in San Diego, it's called the HMO POS. And so if you have your primary with Sharp, but you want to go see a Scripps specialist or a UCSD specialist, you can do that with this, one of their new plans for 2023.
Wow.
And a lot of complaints at some point is, well, I can't go see another doctor. These plans allow you to do that. The other plan that's becoming popular is an HMO PPO, which allows you to go out of network for everything. And those are still at a zero premium or a low premium. So the insurance companies are listening and they want to keep their clients. So now they're adding these extra features where you get your best bang for your buck when you stay in the network. But if you want to go out and see a specialist, or you need physical therapy, or if you want to go see mental health, whatever it happens to be, then these plans, there aren't too many of them here in San Diego, the PPO plans. I mean, they've been around forever in Los Angeles and Riverside. That's where these insurance companies in those areas test the market. And if it works well, then they creep down into San Diego. So if you have a broker, you should be calling your broker and say, hey, what plans are available that allow me to go outside my network? If you don't, you can call me and we can take a look at it.
That's fascinating. So that, I mean, right now in Kaiser, like because I have Kaiser and like everything you do, I think I need to get to a specialist because they're general practitioner. They're nice. I like the guy, but it's like everything is specialty because that's just the way it is, especially when you hit, when you're in your 60s, it's a whole different medical world. I don't know, there's just a lot of other things that happen and there's a very different, I think, treatment. So that's very interesting. Now, so if somebody were already on, like they have Kaiser and that's their HMO, and now this is an add-on to their Medicare plan where that's something they would talk to you about and is kind of an add-on that allows you to go outside, or how does that actually work?
It's a brand new policy. I don't believe Kaiser has one of these yet.
Okay.
It's more like, I think Blue Shield has one, United Healthcare has one, Aetna may have one, but you have to be careful because these plans that are PPO and POS plans, they're in-network doctors, their network is very narrow. So again, you need a broker to kind of help you go through the maze to navigate. But you're exactly right. As you get older, you want to have a little bit of flexibility that if your primary says you need to go see a specialist, well, maybe your plan doesn't have a specialist or the specialist is booked out, which is typical, 3 months. If you can pick up a phone and call a specialist at a different medical group and get in a couple of weeks or a month, that's advantageous, and you still have a zero premium. Now, the Medicare supplement plan, which is the other kind, you can go wherever you want to. But I'm having clients call me that have been on Medicare supplement plans for a number of years, and their premium is getting up to $200, $250, $300, and it's costing them a lot of money. So they like these POS and PPO plans. It doesn't cost them that much, and it still gives them the flexibility to go outside the network for primarily specialists and some other things.
Okay. So this is going to happen. This is possible October 5th. Well, now through December 7th, you guys get on the phone to Jim, 858-935-9120, 858-935-9120, and find out about this. Is fascinating. I like it. I know with my dad, that was everything for him was specialist. I mean, it really was, it was lung and then it was cardiac. And then, the in-plan people they needed to get more specialized and more specialized. So this is the kind of stuff you can't figure this stuff out on your own. That's why we've got Jim, 858-935-9120, the Medicare answer guy. Wow. Jim, there's a couple other things that we do want to get over. I wish we had more time with you. I'm just so glad you're here and that we know that how to get a hold of you is the PDP drug plans. We're talking about, your suggestion was
prescription drug plans.
Prescription drug plan. How do we outsmart the Medicare prescription plans?
All right, I'll be quick and I'll use me as an example. So I'm on one of these. My dermatologist says you need a cream. He gave me a brand cream or prescribed it. I have a deductible for this cream because it's a tier 3, which is typical for a standalone. I go to the pharmacy. The pharmacy says, do you know how much this costs? I said, no, tell me. This tube of cream is going to cost you $275. It's expensive.
Oh,
So I call my doctor, and he says I can prescribe a tier 1, a generic, but why don't you go to GoodRx first, see if there's a coupon, and go to the pharmacy and buy it that way. Sure enough, GoodRx has the coupon for this $275 cream for $20.
what?
So I outsmarted the prescription drug plan by getting the coupon and getting it for $20. Now, they don't have coupons for all the creams and all the medicines, but for your listeners that are on, well, you could be on a Medicare Advantage plan where it might be expensive, but primarily with standalone plans, you outsmart the plan by going to GoodRx, and I guess there are a couple of other ones, discount prescription drug companies, but that's how you get around for it, whether it's a cream or a tablet or whatever. That's the smart way to do it. Otherwise, you're going to pay a lot of money.
That's interesting. It's really true. And that's, I think the one thing that I've noticed is the older I get, when I go to the doctor, it's like, okay, we need to do this treatment. Like I'm doing one now on my face. Cause of course I live in San Diego. I've got stuff on my face that, that might be precancers or whatever. And so he goes, she says, just go get these 2 creams and then you rub them around on your face and whatever. And I had serious sticker shock. I have never in my life had a medication that was that expensive. I literally was like, okay, here's my whatever. I have one of those, the HSA cards. And I couldn't believe it.
Right.
I thought, really, you can fit that much money in that tube?
Well, next time, go to GoodRx, get a coupon and save a lot of money. And again, if I can help any of our listeners answer any of your questions, I'd be happy to do that.
That's fantastic. So you've got the MedicareAnswerGuy.com, 858-935-9120. Jim, you told me, we talked about this last week, and it just got me like so alarmed. It's like, okay, right now there's a mandate, not alarmed, but it's just something that we thought was important. That disclaimer you were talking about, that beginning October 1st, 2022, each Medicare related call, they have to have a disclaimer ahead of time, because there's so many things going on where people are kind of getting taken, or they're not getting sold the right product, or there's just so much attention around Medicare. And there was a disclaimer that had to go out. And I think that was we talked about that before. And your suggestion.
Right. So if somebody calls me and wants to talk about Medicare, I have to let them know, number one, that the call is being recorded.
Mm-hmm.
All brokers need to do that, and to read a disclaimer. It simply says, we don't offer every plan available in your area. Any information we provide is limited to those plans we do offer in your area. Please contact Medicare.gov or the 1-800-NET-MEDICARE number to get the information on all your options. Now, whether I say that verbally or if it's on your recorder, by law, effective October 1st until they change it, if you talk to a broker or anybody, they have to give that kind of disclaimer. If they don't, then they're not aware of the current law. And as you said the last time I was on, that's a good thing. It's kind of a pain in the you know what, but I think it's a good thing. And the reason they they made that change is, unfortunately, the 800 number that people would call from the commercial, they wouldn't disclaim, and they'd put them on a plan where their doctor wasn't available or he was out in Timbuktu someplace. So I guess it's a good thing, not a big deal.
Yeah.
But it's designed to protect the consumer, especially us as we're older. We want the best plan out there. If I can get zero on this and get out of network on that and save on prescription drug plans by going to GoodRx, why wouldn't I?
And these are the things that we do not get. You guys, when you're listening, you're watching TV, you get the 800 number. Call this for your Medicare because we're in the open enrollment period, the AEP. Call us right away, 800 something or other. We have Jim. Don't call those numbers. You call Jim, 858-935-9120, because you're going to get an honest, straight up answer. You can see, we're doing this like, this is public radio, man. We're talking about his discounts and the things that Jim has. Call him to get your questions answered about Medicare. 858-935-9120. Medicare, themedicareanswerguy.com. That's all you need to remember. Anything with Medicare, themedicareanswerguy.com. Jim, thanks so much for being on the show and being a partner with us on the Word on Wealth.
Thank you, Gary. Have a great week.
Thank you. Coming up, we're going to talk about testamentary trusts on the Word on
You
Wealth.
don't need to know everything. You just need to know where to find answers you can trust when you need them. Welcome to the Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush. We're here to help you build, protect, and transfer everything you've worked hard for with expert estate planning, trust administration, inheritance, and probate. Call Gary and the team at gqlaw.com. 855-500-TRUST. Tell a friend about this broadcast outreach, The Word on Wealth, with Gary Quackenbush of GQ Law. Call or click to request your free initial consultation or to talk with a member of the team. Call Gary at 855-500-TRUST. gqlaw.com.
You're live.
Welcome to the Word on Wealth. I'm so happy to have you listening. We had Medicare answer guy, Jim Robeson. He is with us on about once a month, sometimes more. Depends on how I'm getting questions regarding Medicare, because I can never answer them. We talk about a lot, these different things you would have gotten if you're on Medicare because you're over 65 and you're not working for a company that has over 20 employees. You would have gotten a notice called the annual notice of change. And that would be notifying you of, Medicare Advantage plan or RX or prescription drug plan changes and things like that. And it gets confusing. I was really grateful when as my mom was having to deal with the Medicare and all these different, supplemental plans and things like that. We had a guy just like Jim. This is up in Northern California. And my sister, who's very bright, she really can figure things out. She's actually a paralegal in the healthcare industry, so she really knows her stuff. She would meet with a guy that we had up in Northern California, just like Jim, and it was every year. And it was a review of the plans. And I was impressed at how much this guy did, how much work. And this is like Jim does. And I've had my clients tell me this, that Jim works super hard, and you figure out, how do you save money? Is it, $50, $30, $100, $200 a month? I mean, it could be a lot of money, and not so much the money, which is important, as because change is normal. And when you're on Medicare, there's a lot of information about changes because it does change. Unfortunately, that's a disadvantage if you're trying to figure out what's going on. And there's a lot of retail places that are trying to get you to, in the kind of the hubbub of the change, they're trying to get you to change and, to kind of play ball at their booth. And what Jim has been finding, and what he's been warning us about constantly, is that when you see there's really heavily advertised companies, they say, call us, it's open enrollment, it's, call the 800 number. And they have, they put a lot of money into marketing. Realize that when you're putting a lot of money into marketing, they've got a product that it does well for them, and that's what they want to sell you. That's why there's this disclaimer now that has to go out and saying, oh, we don't offer every plan available in your area, but we do, we offer the plan we're saying, but we just want you to know it, because it's a legal requirement. Because what a lot of times you get sold something and you think, is this really what I should be doing? Is this what I need to do? I mean, I hear that with clients when I'm sitting with a client. I mean, as an attorney, I have a fiduciary responsibility to tell people what is best for them. When you call someone that's, advertising that, they can change your healthcare plan on Medicare for the best, there's no fiduciary responsibility for somebody that's trying to sell you something. That's why they would have disclaimers. I have clients that ask me constantly, they say, is this a good thing for me? Is this what you think I should do? Well, I have a legal obligation as an attorney to tell them what is best for them. Is this good for you? And I give them their options. This is how this will work for you. Do you believe it's good for you? So just realize not everybody has to act at that level. And if you're going to be asking, is this good for me? Is this good for me? Well, if the person is trying to sell you something on the phone, what are they going to say? No, it's really not good for you. That's why I called you. So call Jim. Don't worry about the confusion. Just call Jim. He will review your plan with you. You can do it every year with him. We're in the annual enrollment period right now, which means if you're on Medicare, now is really the time to make the changes if necessary. And you heard some really good things that are happening where even with some of these HMOs, the health maintenance organization plans, that you can go outside of network. So it may mean that you need to change your plan. It may be, it's going to be, you can figure that out with Jim on what will work. And the nice thing is that Jim will give you your options and will tell you exactly, if you do this, this will happen. If you do this, this will happen, and give you the benefits, the disadvantages and advantages, and help you make those decisions. That's why we got Jim on the show. I trust him. I believe him. He does a great job. My clients love him. 858-935-9120. That means he's local here in San Diego. So give Jim a call, the Medicare Answer Guy, the MedicareAnswerGuy.com. I want to talk specifically about testamentary trusts. When a lot of times people want to do a trust and they go, oh, I want a trust because my dad had a trust, or my mom had a trust, or I heard something on the radio, or I just understand that trusts are great because trusts avoid probate, and that's what I want to do. So I want a trust. And then they go online and they look something up and they go searching. I want a trust, free trust software, cheap trust software, trust for my family. Well, they don't have to give legal advice. If you're searching for something and you're searching for a download or whatever, they don't have to give you California appropriate advice. They don't have to give you anything advice. In fact, they will tell you, we are not giving you advice. What happens is you may end up with a product that you really didn't intend. As long as you fix it before you become incapacitated or die, that's okay. That's like, as long as you have an estate plan before you die, that's okay. Of course, the problem is that's like saying, you don't have to get life insurance until right before you die. Well, that would be nice, because if you knew and you can get life insurance, then you wouldn't have to pay that many premiums and your family would be able to collect for you. But we don't know that. It'd be nice if you could say, I am only going to buy car insurance. I'm going to start paying for it at the end of the month because that's when I feel I'm going to have a wreck. But we don't do that. The idea of insurance is that it is insurance. Your living trust, your estate plan is insurance. It's insurance that your family will be okay when you are no longer here, either mentally or just plain old not here. Okay. So it's something that you have to put in place ahead of time, and you need to have it right. You don't have premiums every year you have to pay. It's not like an insurance policy, but it is something that gets set up ahead of time. All right. So you decide, I want to trust, and you like that term, trust, because that's what you hear. You hear it on the internet, you hear it on this radio show, trust. And so you download a document that says trust. And in fact, the document says right on it, this is my last will and testament, and my name is this, I have married to this person, and I have these kids. And when I die, I want all my property to be given to my kids according to the paragraph that follows that says the Children's Trust. And in this section called Children's Trust, it has all this language about, if my kids are 18, they can have money. When they're 25, they can have more. When they're 30, they can have more. When they're 35, they can have more, and all this stuff. And you have all this trust language and whatever. The problem is that the document that you just got is not what you think. Okay. Most people understand that you want to trust, because I'll ask people, why do you want to trust? And most, like the vast majority of people, say, I want to avoid probate. And when I start to explain to them how trust, how the will and dying and distributing assets works, every time you mention probate, it's like, no, I want to avoid that. I want to avoid that, because we know that probate is slow, expensive, and avoidable. Slow meaning really slow, like 1 to 2 to 3 years slow. Expensive, like really expensive. Like we're talking $10,000 to $100,000 or more in costs to go through probate, depending on the size of the estate. It is very slow. It is very expensive, and it's very time consuming. Okay. I'm not exaggerating. So that's why we try to avoid probate. Well, if you just got your software and you created a testamentary trust, that means it's a will that says, when I die, take all my property and put all my property into this trust for my children. It sounds like you've got a trust. Okay, listen up. You don't have a trust. You don't. You have a testamentary trust, which means it does not exist until you die. And it says, when I die, put everything I own into my trust. How do you transfer stuff from your estate, your property that you own,
2 minutes,
house and cars and whatever? How do you transfer that to a trust? The same way you transfer it to anybody. If it's a will that says, when I die, give all this money to my kids, give all this money to my wife, give all this money to my trust, it's the same process. It's probate. So a testamentary trust has to go through probate, because it's not set up until you die. There's no money in it. It is not funded. It is not valid at all until you die. Then you go to probate court and you move all of your assets into that trust. You won't be doing it. Your executor and successor trustee will. They're moving everything into that trust after the probate process, which means it's probably going to be a year and a half later. Now the trust has money in it. What just happened? You set up a trust. You thought you did, because it sounds like a trust, because it says in there, my document says Children's Trust. Great, but it's part of a will. That means it's not a living trust. It's a testamentary trust.
Well,
so the living trust, a living trust would be valid right away. You put your house in, you put your retirement account, you put your car, you put your money in your living trust. That money's already in your trust with a living trust. Then when you pass away, it's already there. We don't have to go to probate court to put property in the trust. With a testamentary trust, you've got the worst of both worlds, in my opinion. You have a will. Great. Good job. That's great. You designate guardian for your children, which is super, super important, but there's nothing in that trust and you have to go to probate court to move your property in the trust. So now you have a will and you have a trust, but it takes you a year or so to get all the money in there. The thing we need to explore, and I want to do that coming up next, is we need to explore what are the purposes of a trust? I mean, why do we even do trust? I mean, do we need a trust? I think the answer is yes. But why do we need a trust? And then you'll understand why a testamentary trust is usually not the best way to go. Coming up next, right here on The Word on Wealth.
You've got questions. We've got answers. This is The Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush of GQ Law. Gary's here to give you peace of mind with expert estate planning, trust administration, inheritance, and probate. Call Gary to build, protect, and transfer your wealth. 855-500-TRUST. GQLaw.com.
Gary, we've talked a long time about estate administration. So what is that? And why is it important?
Estate administration is the distribution part of estate planning. So when someone passes away and they leave money to beneficiaries, the property has to be administered. So it's like taking it from the decedent to the survivor. That's called the estate administration process. So usually you're going to have a successor trustee that's named in the trust. They'll have no idea what they're doing because they've never done it before. So then they call on GQ Law and we walk them step by step on how to be a successful and good successor trustee. We also do the required notifications. We notify the Department of Health Services and all the legal requirements so that they can have the estate administration done properly. We help successor trustees be successful.
Call or click to request your free consultation. GQLaw.com. 855-500-TRUST. GQLaw.com.
You're not alone. Ask for the legal help you need. Call Gary and the team at GQ Law, 855-500-TRUST. Or go online and download Gary's free ebooks and videos. Read Gary's blogs. Call or click to request your free consultation or to talk with a member of the GQ team. That's GQLaw.com, 855-500-TRUST.
You're live. All right, so we are talking about estate planning. That's the purpose of this show. We do that specifically Monday through Thursday. On Friday, we have a very special show. We call it Feel Good Friday, where we talk about mental wealth, mental health, and all kinds of things that we're having to do with your mind and body and keeping healthy and wealthy that way. We have all kinds of names for it, but it's a fun show on Friday. It's a very special show. It's something that you won't hear anywhere else on radio because nobody's putting it on. But, you know, there's a lot of talk about it. We just figured as part of the show, as part of our give back to the community, we would dedicate about 20% of our airtime to talking about mental health issues. And we have these incredible mental health professionals, people that are in the industry, whether they're a life coach or a trauma therapist or doctor. And we have them on our guests on Friday. So listen up to the Word on Wealth on Friday. I know it's like Word on Wealth. I thought that was about money. Wealth means enoughness. If you're wealthy, mentally, you have enough and you're doing well. So that's why we talk about that on Fridays. So tune in on Fridays, the same time, same station. And we're super happy to have you along. we're talking about testamentary trusts. And I'm trying not to be on a rant about them, but I have a real issue with people doing their own legal work. It seems like you can download a form and you can fill it out and you go, that looks good to me. What you don't know is what's going to happen when that thing goes into play. Now, if you fixed your own car and you thought, well, I'm going to change the oil. And so you get all the stuff and you go look on the video and it says here, you take out the plug and you drain it into a pan and you got to take that to the recycler and you put the plug back in and then you put oil in and, all the right numbers, the proper viscosity, whatever. And you know whether it worked or not, because when you start to drive the car, if there is the right amount of oil, then it won't sound weird and it will not leak if you put it back together right. And you can do that with anything with your car. You can do that with home repairs and all kinds. You can tell, you can turn it on and you can test to see if it leaks or if something's wrong with it. But with estate planning, we don't have that, because to find out whether it really works, you're going to be either incapacitated or you will have died. And that's when the document comes into play. That's not when you want to find out that it wasn't a good idea, because it's going to be your survivors who are messing with it. What I usually recommend is if you have a living trust or if you have an estate plan, if you don't even know what it is, and it's 5 or 10 or 20 years old, let me take a look at it and let me help you figure out whether yes, it'll work, or no, it has leaks. And I'm happy to help you with that. Sometimes if your trust is 5, 10, 15 years old, it's time to admit that trust has done its job. Thank goodness it didn't do distributions after your death, because we're looking at it. And sometimes it's just done its job and it's time to renew it. Your kids are grown up. You've got different situations, families change, situations change financially. Then sometimes we do a complete redo of the trust, which sometimes that's necessary. Other times we just do an amendment. We change certain things like who's in charge and what powers and authorities do they have, and just, who gets what. Sometimes we change restrictions on things. Those are done by an amendment. So you can do a redo, you can do an amendment. If you don't have a trust or a will, it's time to put one together. All right. So with this testamentary trust thing, what happens is the will says, when I die, all of my property goes into a trust for my children. Okay. That's all fine and dandy. The problem is going to be the property going from your estate into your trust, which is a testamentary trust. It's not valid until you pass away. That transfer is going to require probate. Okay. In almost all cases, there's some ways to avoid that if you've got everything like set up specific. Okay. That's one problem. Number two, there's a 70% chance that you'll be incapacitated for at least 90 days before you die. That's just a statistic that we have. So 70% of us become incapacitated before we die. Who manages our money? Well, if you have a surviving spouse, that doesn't have, that still has all of her marbles and is not incapacitated, then, for example, she would be the one helping manage the money. You're incapacitated. We still need your signature on things. If we want to sell something, we still need your signature. So that's kind of a problem, because if you're incapacitated, you cannot sign things. We need your signature, but you can't sign it. Therefore, we need to have a power of attorney, or we need to go to court and get a conservatorship so that we can then sign things for you. So those are things where, the disability thing, it's really prevalent. I mean, as you get older, the risk of becoming incapacitated obviously increases, and that's not something you want to deal with. Okay. Example. If you, for example, let's say your husband becomes incapacitated and the money that he inherited from his dad is sitting in an account in his name, you can't get to that money because it's in his name and he's incapacitated, and you don't have a power of attorney and it's not in his trust. It is stuck. You now need to go to court, probate court, and you get a conservatorship over the money, and you explain to the judge why you need to get access to the money. Well, I got to take care of him, and it's money that he inherited, and that's money that we now need to survive on. The whole family gets notified. There's an investigator appointed. There's an attorney appointed. It's a big process that will take anywhere from 3 to 6 months. And then that money can potentially become available under certain restrictions. But it's the incapacity thing that's really worse than death. because incapacitated means we still need the signature. We still need their cooperation, but we legally can't have it because of incapacity. So we need to figure out a way around it. Okay. So, and the other thing is usually there's at least as big a need for money, if not greater, and sometimes significantly greater need for money because of the incapacitated person's costs and keeping them, taking care of them and stuff like that. So trusts help with that. Okay. If you have a living trust, not a testamentary trust, but a living trust, it is currently functioning. You are the trustee. You're not the successor trustee. That's the one that's next. You are the trustee. You put your property in the trust. So let's say your house or your bank accounts or your investment accounts. And then you say, my life insurance, when I die, I want my life insurance to go into my trust. That's more money to be putting into that trust. When you pass away, we don't have to go to probate court to set up the trust because it's already set up. Are they more difficult to do than a testamentary trust? No, they're not. Does it save you any money? No, it doesn't. I mean, you don't have to pay for funding when it's a testamentary trust, but the other problem is, what is it done right? And you just don't know. I mean, I've been reviewing documents. It's just what I do. I review for listeners and I look at things, and I reviewed one the other day, and I'm reviewing a document and I went, okay, this is what we've got? Yes. Okay. And this was an incapacitated parent. And I was looking at some documents and I went, uh-oh, this document isn't signed. There were two documents. One had 2 signatures and a notary. The other document was not signed, and it needed to be. So that the documents were supposed to work together. So now we have an unsigned document and a notarized document. We were short and we couldn't get a new signature. So we got to deal with some problems. There's no power of attorney. That would have been helpful if we had a power of attorney, or if things were put into the trust properly, but they weren't. So those are the things that I don't like, is when something is not done right, the documents are not done right. If you want your trust reviewed, I will do it for free as an initial consultation for my listeners. Just tell me you heard the show and call me at 855-500-TRUST. Another thing, I have a website called gqlaw.com. So like my initials, Gary Quackenbush Law, gqlaw.com. And there's a book on there called Living Trust Basics. You just go online and it's on the right hand side of every page. You can do it on your cell phone and on your tablet and your computer. And you can click on this book cover, and it's called Living Trust Basics. It's a white cover with a girl person on it. And that sounded funny. There's a woman on the cover and she's got a diagram by her face. And is that right? No, there's a woman's hand. I'm so sorry. There's 2 white covers on there. White cover it says Living Trust Basics, and there's a female hand that looks like she's drawing out a picture. Click on that. It's easy to find. I'm so confusing. Sorry. gqlaw.com. Click on the book cover, put in your email address and name, and it will be sent to you. Okay. Then you're going to have your Living Trust Basics book for free from me, GQ Law, and it'll be put into your email. And then you can follow up and ask me other questions. You can get a free initial consultation by going to my website or by just calling 855-500-TRUST. Please don't do your estate planning on your own. It's just too important. And when it's time for it to do its thing, you will not be around to take care of it. If you want to amend it, let's take a look at it. If you need to make some changes, we can do that. If you want to start over, we can do that. If things have changed in your life, you're divorced, remarried, have new children, all those things, that needs to be incorporated in your estate planning documents. I just want you to have it right. I really do. 855-500-TRUST. Let me help you out with that. Coming up on the holidays, travel time and all that, we're at about a 2-week time period. So if you hire us to do your estate plan, it's going to take basically 2 weeks. We can hurry if we need to, but 2 weeks is what we're staying at right now. So we're still at that. So if you call now, you get on my calendar, we can get you in, we can get you started, and we can get everything done and signed, sealed, delivered, notarized, and everything within 2 weeks. So travel plans coming up for Thanksgiving, travel plans for Christmas, you still have time to get your estate plan done. All of it, a complete estate plan. We can get it done in like 2 weeks. Call us at 855-500-TRUST. Make sure you go online, get my book, Living Trust Basics, at gqlaw.com. All right, tomorrow coming up, we're going to talk about some documentation. There's some confusion on what you need in your estate plan. Besides the trust and will, there's some other documents. And I want to get into some specifics on what they do. That's coming up tomorrow, right here, same channel, same station, here on the Word on Wealth. See you tomorrow, everybody.
Tell a friend about the Word on Wealth, featured since 1995, with financial solutions attorney Gary Quackenbush, an expert in estate planning, wills and trusts, and tax problem solving. Gary is past president of the California Society of Tax Consultants. Reach out to us. The Word on Wealth team of financial experts is here to answer your questions and help you preserve your family's financial future. The information you hear on the Word on Wealth is for general information purposes only. This program discusses general financial and legal topics. Seek legal advice from a competent lawyer for your individual legal needs. The opinions expressed here do not necessarily